Welcome. Today on 48-Hour Mystery, we will be discussing the case of the missing periodic table.
A chemistry teacher from Granville High School discovered her periodic table was missing this past Monday. The only things that were left behind were flakes of dirt the suspect treaded in by their shoes, a mysterious liquid that was spilled on the floor, and a handwritten ransom note.
By interviewing several of the other faculty members at the high school, we were able to trim down the suspect list to 6 people. The principal, Mr. Bernath, Dean of Students, Mr. Durst, Spanish teacher, Senora Baldwin, Math teacher, Mrs. Thompson, History teacher, Mr. Haven, and the lunch ladies.
The first piece of evidence we examined was the dirt. We discussed different ways of separation that could be used to figure out what the dirt consisted of. We concluded that sifting would be the best method.
The problem was that the pieces were all different sizes, and we weren't getting the results that we wanted to with the sifter, so we decided to simply pick through the dirt with our hands. We found that there were white pebbles, white pebble-looking pieces that resembled styrofoam, various seeds, mulch, and dirt. From this, we concluded that we were looking at some sort of dirt fertilizer mixture.
The second piece of evidence we examined was a mysterious clear liquid that was spilled on the floor. We decided that the conduction of a flame test would be the best way to discover what the liquid may be. To do this experiment, we took the liquid and put it in one side of a pallet, and put a cleansing liquid called HCl on the other side. This was used to decontaminate the wire loop that we used to burn the liquid.
We used a Bunsen burner and a flint striker in order to ignite the flame. We adjusted the burner so that it produced a blue cone flame. We cleaned the wire off with the HCl and then got some of the mystery liquid onto the loop, held it over the flame, and it produced a very bright yellow color. We located one of Miss Seuss's chemistry books in which we found the visible light spectrum.
We matched the color we saw on the flame to the color in the book, and we concluded we were dealing with a liquid that had a wavelength of approximately 590 nanometers. We found a lab that Miss Seuss's students had done that had the wavelengths and colors of many different chemicals. The yellow color marked at 590 nanometers entailed that we were dealing with barium chloride.
The final piece of evidence we found was a ransom note that the suspect left. We decided that by finding out what marker the suspect used on this note, we would better determine who left it. We went about discovering the marker by using chromatography.
We used chromatography to separate the different pigments and substances that were in the marker. We filled up a beaker with a centimeter of rubbing alcohol and placed the strip of the ransom note in the beaker and let the alcohol soak through the paper to separate the pigments in the marker.
Next, we found 10 markers lying around Miss Seuss's room, which we used for the second part of the experiment. We used the same type of paper plate that was found and cut it in half just like the ransom note. With a pencil, we drew a line parallel to the bottom of the plate, which was 1 centimeter from the bottom. We then put a dot of each marker on the line 1.5 centimeters apart, keeping track of the order of the markers. We then wrapped the plate around itself so that the ink spots face outward and stapled it together.
We set it in another beaker with the same amount of alcohol and let the plate soak it up. After this was complete, we compared the results of the ransom note to the ink dots on the control plate and concluded that the note had been written with a Dixon overhead projector marker.
After conducting interviews with the 6 suspects, we concluded that, based on the evidence, the convict was Senora Baldwin.
She said that day she had been planting wildflowers and maintaining her yard, which would have explained the fertilizer that she tracked in from her shoes, and we assumed that the yellow lights she was setting up for the Husto concert were referring to the yellow lights that we produced with the flame test.
Finally, she went up to her room to make a pop quiz over the preterite tense for her class to put it on the overhead, which we concluded that she had been using the Dixon overhead projector marker.
After a later interview, Senora said that she had taken Seuss's periodic table as a simple prank and didn't mean any harm by it. Here's what she said when we questioned her.
Senora Baldwin stole the periodic table. We're gonna bust her.
Why'd you do it, Senora?
Perché?
Why?
Non che comprendia nada in chimica y quería molestarle a la señora Sousa. Bueno para mí, este para ella.
The Thank you for exploring another exciting case with us on 48 Hour Mystery.
Have a wonderful evening.